Yo, yo, yo. Hey, this is Kirk Behrendt. Welcome back to the Best Practices Show podcast. So excited you're here. Got a good friend of mine on today, Fred Joyal. He created a little company called 1-800-DENTIST, and he's always doing something creative or cool to help the dental industry. He's written several books. One of them is one of my favorite called Everything is Marketing, which I'm going to encourage you to read. It's fantastic. And he's just written a new book, which I think is the missing ingredient in leadership for a lot of dentists. So you're going to want to check this out. He's a pretty insightful guy. It's a fun conversation, and he reveals parts of his system to help you be a lot more bold and what's really going on in your brain. So I hope you enjoy it. And if you're thinking in 2022, I need to make my life a little bit better, and I want my practice to be a little bit better, don't be afraid to hang out with us. We're launching our To the Top Study Club and our Inner Circle, and you will love it. Hey, running a dental practice is hard. Being a leader is lonely. Don't do that anymore. Put yourself in a room of great leaders, great thinkers in dentistry, and by osmosis, that's my word of the month, a lot of what they have learned will come your way, and it will change your life. So make sure you check it out at actdental.com, where we help you create a better practice and a better life. Hope you guys enjoy the episode. We'll see you soon. Guys, welcome back to the Best Practices Show. I got a special episode for you. I mean, they're all special, but this one's pretty cool with a good friend of mine who has become, I don't know, it's like, Fred, every time I'm with you, I get some good knowledge. Now, I'm going to start it by saying today we're going to be talking about the missing ingredient. And my first thought, as you and I were talking before we went live, is like the missing ingredient in leadership. And then you said, no, the missing ingredient to a better life. And I'm like, oh, I love that. And so I'm going to have him kind of reveal what that is. But let me tell you about my journey with Fred Joyal. So I didn't really know you, Fred. And then, because I was a little intimidated by you, you started this tiny little company called 1-800-DENTIST. And it wasn't so tiny. I mean, you had some say in the world of dentistry. And then I got to know you. I'm like, he's not a bad dude. And then I actually read your first book. Now, let me just say this. There are a few reads that are required reads. And I would put Everything is Marketing by Fred Joyal as an absolute non-negotiable. Like, you are not even allowed to argue with me. You have to read it. I would put it up there with Pete Dawson's book. When you read it, you'll start to go, holy moly, this guy knows exactly what he's talking about. You also share a lot of insights and how you built 1-800-DENTIST and the motivation behind patients and how we get in our own way as dentists in building a fantastic practice. So that's one piece of it. He's also written many other books, and one of them, I got the newest copy of what we're going to be talking about today, and it is fantastic. And then I saw you this week at the Greater New York meeting. I'm like, Fred, you're an unbelievable author. How do you do this? And so you're going to help me write a book someday, and that's going to be the challenge of a lifetime. But now I know who you are, Fred.
I'll get you there.
Okay, deal. And you're always a great giver. Every time I get on here with you, or every time I meet with you, you're giving me some type of insight. You're always trying to help me. You're always trying to help dentists. I want people, if somebody's listening, we have a lot of young dentists now. We got dental students now. If they've never heard of Fred Joyal, I always like them to know a little bit about you. Who is Fred Joyal before we get into this important topic?
Okay, so back in '86, I started 1-800-DENTIST, which was one of the first advertising programs for dentists. And we ran television ads and had a call center, and dentists were, we were the first real in-depth database about the dentists. And we also had the people we referred to, the dentist, as reviews. So we were almost like a precursor to Yelp, but we were way ahead of this. And so we were an advertising program for dentists, and it eventually became nationwide. We started in Los Angeles, eventually became nationwide. We became the largest dentist referral service in the country. And we spent almost $500 million in advertising under my leadership, which I finally sold the business 5 years ago to go on to some more interesting things. But this was the core of my life. And we learned a tremendous amount about patients and patient behavior, what motivated them, their fears, their anxieties, what made them choose to go to a practice. And I spent some time with some really fantastic dentists, great communicators, ran thriving practices. And I also saw a lot of guys doing a lot of stuff wrong. And so I ended up creating 2 books. Everything is Marketing was the first one. And then 5 years later, I did Becoming Remarkable, to really help them understand how important marketing was and how that was done in a practice, and then teach them how to do the advertising. Because if you don't do the marketing right, which is everything you do that gives a patient experience, everything you do in a practice, the title, Everything is Marketing, means, everything you do either increases or decreases case acceptance. Nothing is neutral.
Yeah. And I got to say this too, like, I learned so much from that book. I learned that marketing and advertising were 2 different things. I also learned what contribution margin is. Now, I'm going to leave you hanging there, because if you don't know what contribution margin is, and he explains it, you explain it very clearly. And when I read it, I'm like, holy moly, like, that is exactly what happens in a dental practice. And so I'm saying all that to say this. You know what you're talking about. You know what I mean? And it's really good stuff. And I tell dentists all the time, they're like, I don't want to read a book. I'm like, some people have spent their whole lives researching how this works. And they wrote a book. It costs what, $20? If you can't invest $20 or find $20 to borrow that money from your kids and buy the book, or something like that. But I just love what you write. Now, I want to talk about let's talk about the why before the it and the how. Why did you write this book? What was your motivation?
So my latest book was actually sparked many years ago by a class that I did. I was mentoring these high school students as part of this whole program. Now, I grew up as an incredibly shy person, like the painfully shy kind, the kind that I could never ask a girl to dance. I couldn't call a girl. I couldn't call anybody, right? I could never, that's the irony, as my whole career was based on a phone number. But, it made me angry. And I said, there has to be a way out of this. And I would see bold people and I go, like, why are they like this? Like, why are they doing this? Why aren't they afraid of rejection or embarrassment or anything? And they're just speaking up and they're doing all this stuff. They must be born that way. Mm-hmm. And then I realized gradually that they weren't, because there were times when I made a bold move, and it made all the difference in my life. Starting 800 Dentists was a bold move. It was crazy, right? You start any business, you got to be half nuts, right? To invent a business from scratch. But I couldn't do it consistently so I worked at it. And in this class for these high school students, I said, boldness is a superpower. I said, everything flows from this. If you master this, if you are confident in action, because confidence is how you feel. Boldness is how you act and how you get stuff done. And so if you can figure out how to do this, and I figured out how to do it to the point where I created a systematic way. After I talked to these high school kids, they were like, that's great. I understand it, but how? How do I do it? And so I started to say, how did I do it? Because you know me, it's like, people meet me now and they don't believe that I was that guy. They see me walk off, I was on a stage of 5,000 people 15 minutes earlier, and they go like, no, I'm not buying it.
Yeah. And I've never heard that story from you, and I'm not buying it either, but I will buy it. But here's the thing, like, now you were explaining this to me in detail before we went live, like some of the things that we get in our own way. So I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Fred, easy for you to say. I'm shy. I've always been an introvert. I don't like risk. Tell me what's going on from your perspective when you looked at this research. Like, what's really going on?
So I was shy. Now, what I learned is my behavior was shy. I wasn't always shy. It wasn't genetically true. I mean, I am this height. I am not 6'8". Okay, I'm never going to play in the NBA, right? But because I am not tall. But I behaved shyly. I did behave shyly. I hesitated. These were all actions. These were all behaviors that I just decided to change and be uncomfortable. I made the choice to be uncomfortable because I knew I started to learn what was on the other side. Because every bold action I took was rewarding. And every time I hesitated was a punishment. Right. I missed out on a girlfriend. I missed out on a job. I missed out on a raise. Like the list goes on. And the same thing is true for a dentist. You've been beaten down for 4 years in dental school by these professors, and you're out there and you're supposed to come out and interact with patients and run a team. This requires boldness. It takes boldness to ask for a referral from a patient. They go, I don't like to do that. Who cares if you don't like it? If you want to build a practice, you have to get comfortable doing it.
Right. And so would you say, like, you just got to get used to, removing the psychological barrier? There's a lot of cliches. You miss every shot you don't take, you don't get what you don't ask for, which I found is absolutely true in sales and life. Like, there's a lot of times, this probably drives my wife crazy if she's going to listen, but we'll go to the California Pizza Kitchen as a family, and I can see that section is shut down. And they want to put me at the table next to the front door. And I go, no, can I have that table in the corner with my family? And I know and you know what they'll say? Sure. And my wife will go, why do you do that? I go, because I'm going to enjoy every minute here. And I always say to the kids, you don't get what you don't ask for. The worst she's going to say is no. Do you know what I mean? Like, so help me through this. Like, you have a systematic way, and you reveal the system in the book, but like how this is a huge deal. Like, you can teach a young dentist. Here's the other thing. As a dentist, you're not going to fail. Like, you don't read about dentists going out of business everywhere because they were bold, right?
No, it is actually considered the best business model in industry all across the board because of the contribution margin, which we're not going to talk about. We're just going to dangle that before them, that they need to know what that is. It's why the dental industry is a fabulous business model, dude. But it's almost impossible. You got to do a tremendous amount wrong to fail as a dentist, but to thrive as a dentist, to have a fantastic life, and give the patients the treatment they deserve. I mean, if somebody needs $40,000 worth of dentistry to get their optimum health back, you can't present $3,000 worth of dentistry and be afraid to say that's going to be $40,000. Right. That's a bold thing to do, but it's also your professional responsibility to tell that. Now, they may have trouble getting around that, the cost of that, but that's not the issue. The issue is, are you comfortable telling them that they need $40,000 worth of dentistry, and it's one of the best investments they're ever going to make in their whole life? Right.
Well, I'm just going to play along here because you hear this. The fear of rejection is huge. Now, what would you say to that?
Rejection, you have to learn to reject rejection. Rejection has nothing to do with you. It just means when somebody says no, they mean not yet most of the time in business. If it's a guy picking up a girl, she says no, she means no, right? She doesn't mean not yet. But most of the time, rejection, you have no idea what headspace that person is in when they reject you. Okay. Right. And it could be the worst day of their life. They could have just gotten fired. They just could have gotten divorced. Their blood sugar could be plummeting. Any number of things. That's 99% of the time. Rejection's got nothing to do with you. And even if it does, what do you care? Were you actually harmed? This is the confusion. We are fearful of the harmless, right? Bold people let it bounce right off. They have a tiny list of people whose opinions really matter to them.
Right.
And the rest of them, it's not important. That's actually one of the exercises in the book. It's like I said, list all the people in your life and rank how important their opinion should be to you. Not is, should be.
That's fabulous.
And you're gonna find maybe 5 or 6 people who rank 9 or 10.
Yeah.
The rest of them should be 1 or 0, right?
Yeah.
Because they got their own stuff going on. So it's all about your mindset about rejection is you're interpreting it as something bad. You're making a choice to make it painful.
Right.
Bold people go, like, it's got nothing to do with me. I'm moving on.
Right. Now go back to that. Wait, go back to that. Because I was going to piggyback totally on that. I think now, more than ever, everyone's favorite subject is themselves. I actually think their second favorite subject is themselves. Their third favorite subject is how many people like what I just posted. And let me check and make sure the likes are trending up. So, like, I think one of the things that's really important to embrace a healthy life, you got to understand, no one is thinking about you ever. People go, oh, my kid is thinking about me. I go, no, let's call them right now and say, were you just thinking about your mom? They'll go, no, I wasn't. Like, no one in the world, and they love you, but they're not thinking about you. They're not thinking about, I don't know. I just feel like you're in a place where you can exercise boldness. And trust me, no one's going to go, you're not going to believe someone was just extra bold for me, to me. And I'm going to post that to the world and tell everybody. They don't care. They really don't care.
No. And so that's a key insight. That's one of the steps actually in my method of how you become bold is that insight that people aren't thinking about you anywhere near as much as you think they are. They're thinking about themselves.
Yeah.
So let it go and don't fixate on it because it's all it's doing is impeding you from chasing your dreams. And that's, I'm so passionate about people boldly chasing their dreams. The last thing I would want, or I would want anybody to want, is on their tombstone to say, I played it as safe as possible the whole way. Right. That's we're in the game. We don't know how long the coach is going to let us play. You know, if you use the analogy. So play full out as long as you can. And that means you got to get into your discomfort zone. And what happens is the more you do it, the wider it gets.
Yeah.
And the more you find out all the good stuff is over there. The first time a patient accepts, the first time you present a $50,000 case to a patient and they go, when do we start? Then that's when you say to yourself, I've been an idiot for 15 years, right? Well, they didn't ask any questions. They accept, when do we start? Right. And I get people arguing with me over the cost of a prophy, right? You say, next time you ask me about the prophy, I'm doubling it, right? That's what you need. That's the bold response, right?
I love what you're saying.
You're too much trouble.
Right. And a lot of times we don't say it because we're afraid of the response. Well, the response is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to tell the truth. And Fred, I'm sure you could speak to this. We see a lot of people in this amazing industry, and a lot of them do some incredible things. And the story that goes with them, you're like, that dude or that woman, she just stepped out there and did it. I just recently watched it was on game day, and this kid who's playing at the University of Nebraska, his number's 38. I can't speak to his name, but he was a Navy SEAL, and he got out of the Navy SEALs, and he's like, I want to play football, and he's never played football. He tried out. They cut him. He said, not good enough. He went to the stadium and said, I deserve to play, and they're like, you're pretty bold. Go ahead, get in there. And it's one of the most inspiring stories of the whole thing. And I thought to myself, the kid just didn't take no for an answer. And I watched it with my family. We all cried watching his story. The point is this: those people that stick their neck out there, those are the people we admire. Those are the people we want to be. And there's so many examples of the good side of it, not the bad side of it. Don't you think?
Yeah, and there's bold people. They are never going to be the one that tell themselves no. Right. And this is what the rest of the world does. The rest of the world has mastered imagining the worst case scenario, right? Oh, these are all, or all of them, all of the bad things that could happen. What we're all terrible at is calculating what the odds are of that happening, right? It's usually 1 or 2%, right? We're making it 90% or 95%. Bold people go like, it's 0% because even if it goes wrong, I'm going to laugh it off.
Right.
So they are never the one to stop themselves. They and if somebody says no, they go like, I'm never going to, Paul Homily, Dr. Paul Homily, my good buddy, says never take no from somebody who can't say yes. Right.
Wow,
it's like you move up, right?
Right.
You go up to, I'm going to find the guy who can say yes, because your job is to say no. Right. And so, but it's that same thing is like bold people go like, why is this like this? Why is this a rule? And my book is full of exercises that you do that expand your comfort zone by taking you inch by inch into your discomfort zone, wherever you are. And some of them are silly little exercises. Like if you see an employees only sign, go in.
Just walk in the door.
Walk right in. You know why? Because you're trying to teach yourself that nothing bad happens. No one's going to beat you to death on the other side of that door. No one's going to arrest you. No one's going to say anything, right? And there's no point to it except you go, I was really hesitant to go in this door for some crazy reason, right? So make that your whole life. It's like, why are you stopping you, right?
I love it. I'm gonna do that this weekend. I'm just walking into any employee only sign. I'm gonna say, Fred told me, and you're right.
Yeah. I mean, you go in the back of a supermarket, it says employees only. You walk in the back, and the most they're gonna say is, "Can I help you?" Right. Which is, how bad is that? Why is that such a negative thing? You just go, I'm looking for the bananas, right? And they'll go, they're out there in the produce section.
Yeah.
Right?
Now take us.
You go, oh. So,
take us inside, in not maybe my brain, but a normal brain. Like if I'm somebody who's listening to this and I go, that's actually really good advice. Like I'm going to start being bolder. So I'm going to walk through some of those doors. What happens to me inside? Is it the fact that every time I do that, I'm expanding this boundary of what I think is possible? Like, is it a, they call these, and I'm going to screw this up, but neural pathways or, future memories or something.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
What is that? What is it?
What we have found, we used to think the brain was fully developed by 19 or 20. Right. What they found is that you can develop new neural pathways your whole life. And so when you start behaving in a bold way, and doing those things just as exercises, not concerned about the outcome at all because it doesn't matter, the brain starts to create these neural pathways that say it's all right, because we've built in a fight or flight thing. Because when with psychological fear and physical danger, we react exactly the same way to. But psychological fear is all a construct in our head for the most part. There's very few things to actually be afraid of in modern society. But the body does exactly the same thing. We tense up, we sweat, we stop breathing, we do all of these things as if we're being stalked by a saber-toothed tiger. Yeah. Okay. So you have to reprogram yourself to the point where you create new neural pathways that are bold action pathways, and that becomes your default mode, because the hesitant, shy, underconfident pathways atrophy. Yeah. It's actually been demonstrated that that's what happens. You are reprogramming, rewiring yourself. And what better thing to reprogram is like, I'm gonna be the one who steps up. And we talked about this earlier. It's like, it's not just in dentistry. There's gonna be all these times in your life where you're gonna get one chance to step up, to act. Now, it may be to defend somebody in a situation, or to step up, or to, or somebody's being bullied and you step in, or an old woman is hesitant at the sidewalk and you're the guy that walks straight over and holds out your arm. It's like, some people go like, well, I don't know, and she may think I'm a rapist or something like that. It's like, no, you're not. You're just you're helping an old lady across the street. Right. And anytime you do those things, you you create this human connection, and you are uplifting somebody. I do this thing called a drive-by compliment, right?
What's that?
I see strangers and I'll say something nice to them, right? And usually not about their body, right? And,
Right.
It'll be like that, that coat looks great on you, man, or like those glasses are cool. I don't know where you found them, but they really are amazing. Every time I do it, people go, oh, thank you. I did this thing the other day. I was in a coffee shop, and the woman behind the counter, she was just a little, I'm going to say she's a little bit even frumpy looking, right? But I said, she handed me the coffee, and I said, thank you, beautiful. And she turned to the person next to her and she went, well, I like that, and it was like, that's all, I wasn't trying to pick her up. I was just doing something nice. But you can do that. Why not be the voice of upliftment wherever you go?
I agree.
Just by speaking up, but they don't want to hear from me. Why not?
Right.
And what's I talk to anybody I'm in an elevator with, I talk to them. Right. Because everybody stands there and shuts up like we're about to be taken to prison. Why not say something? Say anything at all. But when you do that, you suddenly realize I didn't die. Right. This whole misconception about being outgoing is doing more harm than good for me. I want to build this muscle. That's what nobody changes until they decide to change. So you can read this book and say, I don't want to be bold. Good. You won't be. Right. But if you say, I am ready to be bold, you will find yourself in 90 days vastly more confident and acting boldly all the time. And it will be something you work on the rest of your. I'm a bold introvert. Okay. That's what I call myself. I can call on my boldness whenever I want. I still may feel like the hesitation, but I don't give into it.
Yeah.
Ever.
This is so great because as a coach, one of the bold moves that a lot of dentists make, and without throwing any insurance companies under the bus, COVID presented a lot of opportunity. And we had some great dentists go, I'm not doing it this way. There was some things I wanted prior to the pandemic. Pandemic really got us thinking maybe a little clearly. And I had a lot of dentists go, I'm just done. I'm done writing off all this dentistry. And some of them said, I don't care. I don't care anymore. One of them, I probably should say his name. He dumped all of it. And we just got his numbers like on Monday. It was an incredibly bold move. And guess what? He's killing it. And this is what he said. I'm actually getting paid for what I do now. Isn't that crazy that an opportunity?
Instead of everybody but him, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. So. And you see this, Fred, and again, it speaks to the whole nobleness of this industry. As a dentist, as a leader, your fear is, I bought this practice. I can't shake the apple cart. These people came with the practice. No, when you start communicating with them and start turning it, it works. When you start moving away from PPOs, it works. When you start communicating honestly with patients, you go, holy moly, she said yes. Now I got to do the dentistry. So if you can layer it like porcelain and just keep putting on another layer of boldness, you become pretty strong in your career. And you've learned most of the things, what is it? Mark Twain used to say, most of the things I worry about never happen, or I'm screwing all this up. But it's true.
Well, no, but there's a great expression that says worrying is like paying interest on a debt you probably don't owe.
Wow. Right? Yeah. That's so true.
And because it's why use that energy some other way? Because it's doing nothing. It's worrying. There's no amount of worry has ever accomplished anything.
Right.
But it'll sap your energy. But dentists who decide it takes confidence and it takes boldness to present the dentistry that you ought to be doing.
Right.
Not that the insurance company told you to do, or that your supervised neglect approach to dentistry. You need to believe, and I talk about this obviously in my books, is that dentistry is one of the best investments people can make. But if you don't believe that, you don't believe something that's actually true.
Yeah.
Right?
It's so funny. That's another one. We're quoting your first book, but that quote alone, I share in every lecture. It's a Fred Joyal quote. I believe to my soul that dentistry is one of the best investments a human being could ever make. And as a dentist and as a team, you can get around that. That changes everybody's life, you know?
And you just have to remind yourself, these people have blown $20,000-$30,000 on something stupid in the course of their life. Why not have it be spent? Why not convince them to do something that they'll never regret for the rest of their lives? Yeah. That takes boldness. It takes boldness to say, you know, if you like the care that I've given you, I would love it if you tell people about our practice, because we love treating people like you. Okay, yes. It sounds really easy to say, but to say it takes a certain amount of boldness. You have to be confident that your dentistry is great, but your dentistry is great. You're selling a great thing. There's plenty of people selling really not good things. Right. Some of them really bad things. Yeah. So that's not us, right? That's not you guys. I'm trying to help you to effectively communicate and just in general have a great life, you know. And like I said, let's take it outside of dentistry and the missed opportunities that will aggregate in your life to regrets because you only got one shot at them. Yeah. Like you eulogizing your best friend or a parent that passed away because I don't like to speak in public. It's like, guess what? You're never going to get another chance to say that, to say what you felt about that person. And it will gnaw at you. All the things that you didn't say, you didn't do, you didn't try, that's what's going to gnaw at you. Yeah. The things you stumbled at, the things you thought people would laugh at, that you'd be embarrassed about, everybody's forgotten them already. Yeah. Right? And except you, because you wish you had done them. You wish you had said it. And that's what this book is about. It's a systematic way to learn how to do this in any situation in your life, to have this in your quiver at any moment to pull out. Doesn't mean you don't spend time alone. I love spending time alone. It doesn't mean you're the life of the party, but why wouldn't you want to be the life of the party someday or sometimes? Or I don't need to be the life of the party. I just need to meet the person I want to meet the most at that party and go deep. Yeah, this is awesome. And I'm happy. I love it. You know? Yeah. So, Fred, I think you're going to help a lot of people with this book. And I'm going to encourage you, if you're listening, you got to check out this book. But any last thoughts you have on the concept of boldness, things we should know, things we can do? Well, I cover a lot of things in the book. One of the things that I talk about is what in communicate is what, you know, when you're meeting people, what to do, what not to do. And also how to make somebody feel like they're the only person in the room, right? That is a life skill. Nobody teaches you that in college, high school. Your parents don't tell you most of the time. I've met one or two parents that knew how to teach their people that, but you can do it. And I lay it out in simple step-by-step process. And that makes all the difference. When somebody meets you and you have locked onto them, you've met those people. That they just have this ability you go like, wow, they were totally into me, focused on me completely. That's an amazing life skill, and people will never forget you when you do that. I talk about how to do those things in the book, but this is a systematic, step-by-step, move you up process till you're as bold as you want to be. You will feel the results. You will feel uncomfortable and satisfied with it over and over again. This whole idea, you know, I'll make it the last thought is, you know, some people strive their whole lives to be comfortable. Comfortable is like where you go is like going to bed. Okay. It's where you go to restore yourself. All the good stuff happens in your discomfort zone, when you're uncomfortable, when you're pushing your boundaries, when you're trying something new, you know, taking a chance, taking a risk, discovering something. That's what boldness can do. And it's available for everybody. Amen, brother. Amen. So, okay. So if I'm listening, where the heck do I get this book? Can I just get it on Amazon? Like where do I find it? Yeah, so Amazon is the easiest way. Superbold, one word, BOLD. Don't forget, people go, did you write a book about the Super Bowl? What do you know about football? It's like, and so no, Superbold, uh, and it's in hardcover. It's me reading it in the audiobook, and there's a Kindle version. And if you go to my website, fredjoyal.com, if you're reading one of the digital, if you're listening or reading digitally, you can download the exercises in a PDF form from my website and download all the journal entries that you're supposed to do. Because it's a book about acting. It's not a taking action. It's not about something you read and go, that was a really great book. Because people do that with business. They do it with my books. I read your book. It was great. Well, what do you do? I didn't change anything. Well, why'd you read it? You know, right. Like, I want to hear that you did stuff, right? That's the kind of books I write. It's like, you got to do stuff when you read my books. And some people are mad at me because they go, like, I had to change a whole bunch of things, you know?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's why I wrote it.
Well, I'm going to ask the people who are listening to do stuff. And one of the things I'm going to ask you to do is just get the book. I'm also going to ask you to check out his other books too, because Fred, I'm kind of a book snob. You know, I don't like books with a whole lot of filler where you go, what is this? What are you trying to say for 17 pages? I'll tell you, your writing is spot on. You know the mind of a dentist. You know what's going on in the dental industry. It's great stuff. And I'm actually going to have you back. And again and again and again, we're going to talk about contribution margin.
Yes, we are. That's our teaser right now.
Well, it's one of the most brilliant concepts ever. No one's described it the way you have. No one. I listen to a lot of stuff. No one has shared that the way you have. And it's spot on. And it can relieve a lot of the stress that you have as a dentist and help you show the mountain of opportunity once you get things going. So be bold. Check it out. Fred, thanks for being on, brother. I really appreciate you.
My pleasure, Kirk. Talk to you soon.
Awesome. Wait, hold on. Stick around. We say goodbye to everybody else. Thank you guys for listening to the Best Practices Show. If you enjoyed today, which I know you did, just do us a favor. Hit the share button. Share it with your friends. Keep sending us suggestions for things that you want to hear from Fred. Fred's an amazing, brilliant marketer. I mean, you know a lot of stuff. I'm going to have Fred back over and over again. Send me what you want to hear from Fred. We'll ask him the tough questions and get the answers from the expert. And then keep sending us suggestions for other things you guys want to see. But until we see you next time, keep watching the Best Practices Show. You guys enjoy the rest of your day.